Hello everybody, and welcome to Ancient Architects.
Please subscribe to the channel for regular content on ancient architecture, as well as all the latest news from the world of archaeology. So, as the title sequence shows, I've just got home after a fantastic 10-day tour of Turkey, and amongst the sites I visited, of course it was no surprise that Göbekli Tepe, Karahan Tepe and Sayburc were my favourites. We had a short personal tour of Göbekli Tepe with the field director Lee Clare, and we got to see firsthand the progress being made at Karahan Tepe and Sayburc. And for those that don't know, these sites are 10 to 12,000 years old, and whilst I was visiting, new discoveries were being announced in the world's media. For example, geophysics uncovered new structures at Göbekli Tepe, and the day before the news went public, I was filming the person surveying the land. And the day after, archaeologists went public with the new T-shaped pillar with the human face at Karahan Tepe. Our tour group got to visit the site and see it firsthand. And Sayburc? Well, 12 months after my last visit, and so much has changed. And in a good way. It really is an exciting time to be researching pre-pottery Neolithic history, and I've got so much to show you in the coming weeks. But in this video, I'm going to run through the new discoveries and also a couple of other highlights from my trip. But before I go further, I just want to say that myself and NEXT are going back to Turkey for a new tour in October 2026. To see how the sites mentioned in this video and many more are developing 1 year on. This will be my 3rd year in a row, and we'll be seeing some amazing historical sites across Turkey, eating some of the best food, having fun and making new friends. So if you'd love to see Göbekli Tepe, Karahan Tepe, Sayburc, the Hittite capital Hattusa, the fairy chimneys of Cappadocia, enter the caves of Derinkuyu and more, then click the link in the pinned comment or description below. And furthermore, if you book your place on the tour before the end of 2025, you can save an incredible $1,000 using code TURKEY1000. This year really was fantastic, and hopefully I'll see you in 2026. Now back to the video, and first to Göbekli Tepe, where experts from the German Archaeological Institute and Freie University in Berlin have been carrying out new geophysical work under the coordination of the Ministry of Culture and Tourism under the leadership of Istanbul University. According to an article from the Anadolu Agency, geomagnetic, georadar and LiDAR measurements were recorded, showing traces of new structures with a rectangular plan. Due to the known general layout of Göbekli Tepe and previous excavations of rectangular structures at the site, these are believed to be domestic structures, including homes, and these surround the more famous monumental oval buildings that are sunk into the ground at the heart of the site. Yes, the oval enclosures are in a hollow. As part of the same work, measurements to determine the size and boundaries of the archaeological site are also being undertaken. Geophysical techniques and the technology are improving all the time, and the new results will be able to guide future excavation at the site. When I was at Göbekli Tepe on the 6th of October this year, the group watched as the measurements were being taken to the east of the main oval buildings, and although the new findings are exciting, they confirm what was believed to be there: domestic buildings. Although many media outlets still call Göbekli Tepe the world's first temple, we've known for years it was certainly a settlement. This paper that was written by Lee Clare in 2020, summarising research from 2015 to 2019, explains how the evidence shows dense domestic occupation at the site, and buried human remains have also been discovered. Göbekli Tepe was without any doubt a settlement for hundreds and hundreds of years, from the Pre-Pottery Neolithic A through to the Pre-Pottery Neolithic B. And yes, it was one of the largest and most complex pre-pottery Neolithic sites, but we have to remember it is just one of many. We have to understand Göbekli Tepe in context with the wider landscape, and because it's been excavated more than most Taştepeler sites in southeastern Turkey, to me it does make sense there is now a greater focus on excavating the surrounding sister sites, so we can understand the bigger picture. Culturally speaking, Göbekli Tepe is linked to Karahan Tepe, Sayburc, Harbesevan Tepesi, Kurt Tepe, Çakmak Tepe, Sefer Tepe, and the list goes on. And until just a few years ago, many of these other sites were still pretty much buried. And so that takes me to Karahan Tepe, probably my favourite site in the region. I've now been there twice, exactly 12 months apart, in October 2024 and again in October 2025, and excavation is progressing at a great pace. Video is not allowed on site, but thankfully pictures were, and so, respecting the rules, I turned off my video camera, but I did take a lot of pictures, and this year there was a lot to see. The excavation has widened. The large oval building at the top of the hill that was only around half excavated last year is now fully uncovered, and there are even more buildings and T-shaped pillars emerging on the edges of the excavation zone. For example, this rock-cut basin is part of the new excavations. It reminds me of the pillared enclosure AB, but of course it is much smaller, with only one central pillar in the centre. Interestingly, a rock-cut channel runs towards it, which makes me think that this was likely a cistern to collect rainwater. The central pillar was possibly much taller, with these pieces broken off the top. It probably supported some kind of cover. I'll go through all my observations at Karahan Tepe in more detail in a forthcoming video, because now I'm going to mention the discovery of the face on the upper part of a T-shaped pillar, and as many of you will know, it got the world talking last week. We've long known that many of the pillars at Göbekli Tepe, Karahan Tepe, Navali Chori and Sayburc were carved in such a way to be anthropomorphic, with arms running down the sides, bent at the elbow, with hands coming together on the front narrow edge of the pillar. Some of them also have a kind of belt with a fox pelt hanging down. But these pillars don't have faces, and no face had ever been discovered on the upper part of a T-shaped pillar. Well, until now. The pillar is one of 3 in this specific building on the southeastern edge of the excavation area, but it's the only pillar with a face. The pillar in question has a height of around 4.5 feet, and, according to news reports, it's yet more evidence that T-pillars were made to symbolise or evoke humans. This T-pillar was not in an oval communal building, but a structure with domestic elements like grinding stones. The shape of the building being sub-rectangular leads me to believe that it dates to a later phase of activity at the site, possibly being Pre-Pottery Neolithic B as opposed to A. Furthermore, the T-pillar looks to have been reworked, and that's because the upper section is a lot smaller than its counterpart, like it's been recarved from the traditional shape. The third pillar inside the building is broken, so it can't be used as a comparison. So, it's my opinion that the face was added sometime later, possibly a much later phase of this building's life. There are also no arms on the side. There are no hands or a belt, which brings us back to the claim that T-pillars symbolised or evoked humans, or maybe gods. Whilst this could be correct, I still believe the T-pillars had a primary purpose of being roof supports. First and foremost, they were functional. And, as we've seen across the Taştepeler sites in southeastern Turkey, not all T-pillars are anthropomorphic. Some of them are decorated with animals and maybe landscapes, and yes, others are carved into stylised humans. You may disagree, but I believe their decoration was secondary to their function, and their often regular arrangement in and around oval and rectangular buildings leads me to believe their primary job was supporting roofs. At Sayburc, it looks like a portion of a stone roof has even been found in the remains of one of the buildings, as we can see right here, a fragment of what must have been a much larger stone slab. Whatever the truth, the face on the pillar is important, and it is carved in the place we would expect to find it on an anthropomorphic stone pillar. It also reminds me of the famous Kalisic sculpture, a bizarre, almost alien-like statue that was found near Adıyaman in southeastern Turkey. It was discovered in 1965, and it was dated between 9,500 and 9,000 years ago, meaning it did come a lot later than the oldest buildings at Göbekli and Karahan Tepe. But saying that, and due to the context of the find, i.e. not being discovered by archaeologists, I don't know how accurate the dating really is. Although it's only 80 centimetres in height, the statue is thought by some to be a woman or goddess giving birth. Others think the arms and hands came together at a phallus, and the second human body was added to the statue at a later date. The face of the statue, although hard to see because of erosion, was possibly similar to that on the pillar at Karahan Tepe. And the stylised face we find on the pillar at Karahan Tepe is typical of the era, with numerous examples of this strange T-face being found on statues and statuettes from a number of pre-pottery Neolithic sites. Interestingly, the form of the face is also similar to earlier Natufian portrayals, as seen on this limestone pebble that was found at the late Natufian site of Nahal Ain Gev II. This artefact is believed to be 12,000 years old, so it's only a few hundred years older than the earliest date retrieved from Karahan Tepe. Yet the two archaeological sites are separated by more than 360 miles. What this means is of course open to debate, but the similar stylised form of the face, both on the pebble and the pillar, can't go unnoticed. This video is really just a brief look at the new discoveries at Göbekli Tepe and Karahan Tepe, and I was lucky enough to be at both locations roughly when the discoveries were announced to the world. And I still have so much more to say and so much more to show you, especially from Karahan Tepe and Sayburc, including a new enormous building that's currently being excavated. And so in the coming days and weeks, I'll be sure to share everything with you on the Ancient Architects channel. Thank you very much for watching this episode of Ancient Architects. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel, please like the video, and please leave a comment below. Thank you very much.